Pagitt Radio, broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities on Wednesday. Our day together.
Our day, Doug.
Our day together. It's Wednesday, September 5th, 2012. And Doug Pagitt Radio is broadcasting in the Common Era.
Oh, yes.
BCE.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or CE,
Hey,
the Common Era, as
that
opposed
happen?
to Christ.
But, I mean, is that...
Yeah, when did people make the shift from
Yeah.
referring to it as before Christ? And, well, I don't know exactly when.
Okay.
But in one of the signs that you are a progressive person in the world, as opposed to some
regressive Neanderthal?
yes, some person for whom others would think poorly of. You don't say before Christ. You say
Gesundheit?
Gesundheit. No, you say before the Common Era, and then after the Common Era. Yeah, it really does have that sensibility to it, doesn't it?
Right.
So you can keep the BC, and then if you really want to be fancy, you say the E for era. So September 5th, 2012, BC for the fundies and BCE for the enlightened.
Yeah.
We're broadcasting. Today is going to be a terrific show. I hope you can stick with us the whole time. It's going to come in 3 parts. There's this little radio program called This American Life, and they always do this, like today's program.
Yeah.
They always
3 acts.
It's going to come in 3 acts.
Yeah.
Act 1. We're going to have sort of 3 acts.
Sure.
Today, too. I like to refer to them as 3 parts, but 3 acts would be so much better, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a much better way to say it.
Had we had the planning and forethought that like a play would have.
That we would have crafted it together.
Yeah.
This is more like, do they do improv plays or just improv comedy?
I don't know. I'm sure there's got to be somebody.
Yeah,
out there
well, this is
doing
like
it.
improv
Yeah.
plays. Well, today we're going to be joined by Aubrey Weger. Aubrey is a top-notch musician in her own right. She is a violinist. Makes her livelihood teaching other people the great skills of violin. But she's also a part of a little effort to try to stop the state of Minnesota from putting in its constitution a requirement that only people of opposite genders can be married.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how do the people the hermaphrodites how do they determine gender? Do you know? Do they just get a designation? Does somebody designate that? I don't even know what those poor people do.
Yeah, and I don't know why you're asking me that question about the.
Well,
but I mean,
I'll tell you why I'm asking you, because you now all of a sudden are a little Mr. College student.
oh, yeah,
That's why.
right.
Yeah. I will introduce you in a moment.
Sure.
Let me finish this thought on Aubrey Weger.
Please.
Aubrey is
Finish
on,
this
and
thought.
she's going to tell us about a fundraiser that's going on, a Bluegrass fundraiser. Music from some folks that we're going to want to listen to. They're going to be joining. She's going to be joining us, telling us about this event happening next Wednesday, that being the 12th of September. So Aubrey's going to be on, and then we're going to be joined in the second part. See, second act is
Yeah.
way better.
Yeah.
In the second part by Dr. Anthony Jones.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah, we get to call him Tony.
Yeah.
Tony is going to bring to us a regular series on what are the questions that haunt Christianity. The haunted questions. Well, and I've got some sound effects to go with it. I'm going to make fun of his little hauntings.
Yeah.
His little hauntings. So my name is Doug Pagitt. I am privileged to be the host of Doug Pagitt Radio, which really worked out well, considering the fact. And I'm joined.
You didn't have to change. Hit a new URL or anything.
It all just came right together. And I'm joined by the sidekick here, John Music. Big John. John Patrick, as we like to call him around here.
To boost the audio on that, my friend.
Oh, I do.
Yes.
You need more out of me.
Yes.
And everybody knew you
Good,
didn't give
good.
no lip to Big John.
Okay, now that that's done.
Big John, how was your week? You're into being a college student. You know, here in Minnesota, we have now officially passed into fall with the passing of Labor Day. And now school has started, but you started a week ago as a college student.
I did.
What are you learning? What did you learn this week? That's what I used to say to my kids when they come home from school. I'd say, "What'd you learn today?" And you know
Right.
what they would always say?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. And I used to think they were just there.
They're just
I used to think they were just
dodging the question.
Yeah, just like that. I don't want to talk about it. I've had a long day. But now, as they're young adults,
You're like,
I'm like, boy, they were telling the truth the whole time.
Right.
Never saw that. But how's school going for you? What kind of things are you learning in school over there?
Well, it's I've got some pretty rudimentary classes, so
Are you nailing it?
I think so. Yeah.
Have you taken any pop quizzes yet? Have you had any reading quizzes that you didn't know were coming?
No, they really don't do that. I can tell in the.
They don't do that.
No, they don't do that.
I would go back to school if I wasn't afraid of the pop quiz that would catch me in not having done the preparatory reading.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the worst.
It's a different age. It's not, none of that. There's none of those punitive techniques. None of those kind of gotchas. At least like in my school, like they assume that you want to be there and that you want to learn something, so they want to try to, construct the classes and the coursework in the best way that you can learn from it. So, it's
like they're on your side.
I feel that way.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about administration. Okay, those bunch of union employees.
Do you not have running through your head, "Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone"?
No, I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a much more collaborative process.
Yeah, I don't feel like physically or intellectually threatened by my professors.
Is that so?
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you learn anything interesting this week?
I mean, most of them are girls, so.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to be afraid of, right?
Well, they're just, anyway.
What do you?
Weak upper body strength.
Yeah. Some of them. There's not all of them. Did you see the first lady last night?
She's got some guns.
The shoulders on that gal.
Yeah.
I mean, she's doing some yoga.
Yeah.
So she's a well fit woman in the shoulder region.
Great clavicles.
And in this case, shoulder really does just mean shoulders.
What?
Sometimes people refer to a gal's shoulders, and they're talking about a whole.
Oh, so yeah.
They're being pejorative about a woman's sexuality, and I'm not at all. I'm just she always wears those sleeveless dresses too. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Because she's got really round. Even my daughter, who's 22, even said, "Man, look at the shoulders on her." And then my wife, who's a yoga instructor, they're like shoulders, like Yeah, they were turning it up for the first lady. Hey, we're gonna give Aubrey a call. Aubrey's gonna let us know about this marriage amendment. A little update for people who don't know about the marriage amendment. What they want to do in the state of Minnesota is have a statute added to the Constitution. What currently is in Minnesota state statute is the statement that marriage is restricted, and there's certain people who don't qualify to marry one another.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be at least 18 years of age or have parental permission if you're under 16. So to be 16 years old to marry in the state of Minnesota. You can't marry someone to whom you are a blood relative unless the state statute says you're part of a native tribe.
Oh, okay.
And then you can. You can't marry someone if you're married to someone else currently. Only one marriage at a time in this state. And they've added in 1979 to the Minnesota state statute the restriction that you can only marry someone whose gender is not your gender. You can only marry an opposite gendered person.
In 79?
Yeah.
They kind of slipped through the...
They slipped it through. Previous to 1979, they had other restrictions, including if you were an imbecile or an idiot.
Okay.
Now, these were technical terms that they used back then,
right?
Unlike how we might use them today. But my dad used them very precisely as like a technical term, I think, when we were driving. But they also used to have a restriction where if a person suffered from epilepsy, you couldn't be married in the state of Minnesota. They dropped the epilepsy restriction and added in the gender restriction.
So at that,
they also moved ages around.
So is that time like the epilepsy lobby was so strong, more powerful than the gay lobby?
They just came on.
They crushed them.
Yeah, they crushed them. They came on and
they're
just
like,
said,
hey, to the back of the line, gays.
Yeah, you're right. Us first.
That's right.
We're getting married around here. It's very funny, isn't it? That what you see in these marriage amendment, what you see in these marriage restrictions, rather. Over time, when you look at the statute, which if you're a total nerd like I am, and you actually go onto the state of Minnesota's website to look at laws that exist, they show you the history of them. In the state of Minnesota, going back to 1912, because most of our laws were sort of established in 1912, after statehood in 1850. Well, in the state of Minnesota, they've tracked this, and you can see the certain restrictions that there were, and they were obviously, to my eyes, they were things that people culturally didn't know how to accept. So you didn't accept people with epilepsy because it seemed as if there was something wrong with that person and you didn't want them, I don't know, reproducing or somehow it made sense in the cultural bigotry against the people with epilepsy to not allow marriage. So they dropped that one in the last, 100 years, and they've now added in a new restriction. So we're just swapping one restriction for the other. And that's curious to me. And I think that that's an argument worth having, is on what basis do we decide which cultural biases we're going to enforce in our limitations. And currently there's a cultural bias against same-gender marital life.
I like this little game that we have, where like a polar bear balancing on a ball.
Yes, knocking things
juggling
over.
Juggling cats and chainsaws.
Yeah.
You try to keep your salient point.
And I just try to keep going. And if you're watching on the video, maybe it's sometimes it's worth watching the video, watching the microphones fall around. And because if you just have the audio version of this, I know it's just sweet honey to your ears. But there are a few other things that go on around here on the radio program. All right, we're going to give Aubrey Weger a call, and we're going to ask her what's such a big deal about this little fundraiser that she's got going.
There's a new intro to a bit.
Now,
what's the big deal?
What's the big deal? Okay, let's start that. Let's make that the what's the big deal thing. I need some audio for that, too. I should probably find some audio for the what's the big deal.
Hello?
Hey, Aubrey, it's Doug.
Hey, Doug, how are you?
I'm dandy. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thanks.
Aubrey, we're thrilled to have you tell us about your little something bluegrass fundraiser to try to say no.
Yeah. Well, next Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 10, we're throwing a little party to celebrate all families in Minnesota. And the proceeds from this are going to go directly to the campaign to defeat the marriage amendment in November. We're going to have some fantastic bluegrass music featuring the Rowe Family Singers, Pocahontas County, and the Prairie Fire Lady Choir.
Now, if someone is into bluegrass, I'm guessing they would know these groups, wouldn't they? Like these are big time bluegrassers.
Yeah, especially on the local scene, definitely.
So what's going to happen at this little get together? Let's say somebody really loves themselves some bluegrass, but hasn't really thought much about this marriage amendment, and they get there. What do you think they're going to hear between the bluegrass songs and the plea for participation, or is it a fundraiser, or how's it going to go?
Yeah, well, kind of all of the above. Like, we're trying to raise some funds for the campaign that's defeating the marriage amendment, so that's a big thing. Another thing is just gathering and talking and having conversations about why we as a community, everybody deserves the same support as everybody else, and why we're going to have some speakers talk about why it's important to them to defeat the amendment and why it's hurtful to our community.
Yeah. Now, Aubrey, how did you get interested in this particular thing? Like, there's not. I would imagine that a couple of years ago you weren't overly interested or concerned about the role of the Constitution in the state.
You
of
were just as insensitive to gays as I was, is what he's saying.
No,
that's a pretty big assumption to make. That
no, I'm not saying you're insensitive. I'm not saying you're insensitive to gays. I'm making the assumption that you probably didn't concern yourself with the nature of the Constitution of the state of Minnesota.
I think that is a fair assumption.
Yes.
I guess I've lived here in Minnesota for 4 years now, and what I've experienced since I've lived here is a community that's been really loving and supportive of me and all of the things that are unique about me. And I haven't experienced that as well in any other community that I've lived in. And I think that I don't think that it's unreasonable to expect to dream of a broader community that that practices that same, like, celebrating all of the members in the community the same, where people's differences are considered to be valuable rather than living in fear of each other. And I think that this amendment is really contrary to the spirit of that. Like, it's teaching that some people's relationships and some people's love is less valuable than others, and that's not acceptable. It's denying the reality of the lives of countless people in our communities who are already in same-sex relationships, who are committed to each other and growing old together and raising families together. And those families are experiencing injustice just because of who's in the family, and I think that's wrong, and I think that we deserve more than that as a community. I think we want something more than that as a community. So this is just something that I and a couple friends brainstormed as a way that we can, bluegrass, there's something about bluegrass music that is celebratory and uplifting and energizing. And I think it's a really good way to get people excited and rally to show support of the families in our community and hopefully raise some really, really needed support for the campaign against the amendment in November.
Okay, so talk a little bit about that. What the group that you're going to be raising monies for is the group called
it's Minnesotans United for All Families.
Minnesotans United for All Families. Okay.
Yep, it's the coalition that's campaigning to defeat the amendment in November.
And this is a fundraiser where people can pay, I guess, $10 or $15 or $20. It's a suggested donation, right? Somebody could come for free to this event.
The suggested donation is $10, $25, or $50, depending on what you can give. So really, everybody's welcome, and just give as much as you feel compelled to. And we're going to have some baked goods. We're going to have a cake auction. Our mutual friend Doug, Sarah Rosemary, is making us some cake art that will be auctioned. Yeah. So bring your sweet tooth.
Nice.
It's just going to be a really fun night.
And what does Minnesotans United for All Families? What do they need the money for? So if somebody's going to come, they're going to get a little bluegrass, and they're going to pay $10 or $15 or $25. What do they spend the money on?
All of the things that go into the campaign, from advertising to paying their staff to just all of the things that it takes to run, to be part of the political arena these days.
Yeah. Have you? Is this your first foray into a political into political activism?
Yeah, it is. It's not the place that I ever thought I would be, but it's just something that's really important to me in the community that I live in. And I've been doing some phone banking with the campaign too.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Really enlightening, and really, it's actually been really surprising how the campaign is really positive. Like the way that volunteers and staff are trained to talk to people is very positive and very listening based. And I've had some really great, surprising conversations with people on the phone. It's been actually really encouraging.
Now, do you find that you like this kind of thing? Because I know that a lot of people are cynical about politics and about public policy and these kinds of movements and all that. Are you enjoying it? Do you like being do you consider yourself a political activist now? And do you like that kind of thing?
I don't know if I would go that far. I enjoy hearing people's stories, and I enjoy having hard conversations with people. I mean, there's a lot, like, discouraging parts too. I mean, I think that it's really urgent that we support this campaign, because there is a lot of opposition and a lot of fear out there, a lot of misinformation, I think. So it's not like it's all been great. I definitely feel like it's the right thing to be doing what I can to support the people in my community, and what I can do in order to do that is support this campaign.
Now you say that there's that you can tell from the place where you are that there's a lot of opposition to this.
Yeah.
I never see any of that, right? Because the only effort that I see publicly are like these vote no on the amendment signs that people have in their yards.
Yeah.
So it seems like the Families for All, or the Minnesotans for All Families, has really mobilized people into a public display of their opinion about this amendment. But maybe you being on the inside, you're hearing other things. Does it? Do you all have a sense?
I mean, the truth is, like, the kind of scary truth is that we haven't been, like, polling excellently. Like, we've come out behind.
Really?
And yeah. I mean, you see a lot of the yard signs and stuff, and part of that I think is just because we live in Minneapolis, and it's more tends to lean more liberal, I think, than other parts of the state. But I mean, this amendment has passed in 30 states. It's never been defeated before, so if we defeated it, we would be the first ones to defeat it. Yeah. And the kind of the pattern that we've seen in other states is that the opposition, like the pro-amendment group, comes out with like a blitz at the very end, like right before the election, and so everyone will just kind of be pummeled with these like ads and different kind of tactics that have served them to be that have proven successful to them in the past. So we know that's coming. And so it's easy to be in Minneapolis and to think that we got this, and there's no reason to worry, but there actually is really great reason to worry. And I think it's really important for everybody to get involved, whether it's by volunteering. It's really they really need volunteers at the coalition at MN United. They really need volunteers to help recruit volunteers to help have conversations with voters and to donate, to do data entry, all kinds of stuff. So that's really important, and also just supporting with our financial stuff like this fundraiser and other ways to donate are really, really, really important right now.
I see. And this particular fundraiser is happening on Wednesday, September 12th. Mm-hmm. And it's in the evening, 6:30 till 10. People can come anytime. Is that right?
Yep. It's at the corner of 31st and Park Avenue in South Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. That is in the parking lot of a church called All God's Children.
Oh, it's an outdoor concert.
Yep. It's outside. Uh-huh. So everybody's welcome, and it's the Prairie Fire Lady Choir is kicking it off at 6:30. At 7:30, Pocahontas County is going to play, and then at 8:45 will be the Rowe family. So
I see.
So just come on down at any time you're able to, and it'll be really fun.
And Aubrey,
really
you had a hand in making this whole thing happen.
Yeah, we've been I myself and a couple of friends have been working really hard, and it's been just pretty much something that we've dreamed up and put into action. So it's really fun. I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah, it sounds
it's cool to see how supportive people are, and
it sounds excellent. Did you have a lot of work to be able to get permission to have a big outdoor concert in a church parking lot?
It's been a little bit of work. I mean, nothing too crazy. We just have to get a sound permit from the city, which is pretty easy, and permission from the neighbors and stuff around the neighborhood. But it's been pretty smooth.
Great. So people can they can find their way. We'll put the link on the Doug Pagitt page on Facebook. I'll spread it around to the radio listeners so people can find that link and they can show up there. Now, what if somebody wants to come but they're just not sure what they think about this marriage amendment, right? Like for some reason they just think, well, but gay people should be able to have civil unions, but not marriage, or somebody like that, right? So somebody who's not opposed to gay people, but they don't know what they think about this marriage amendment. Is this a good environment for them to come and give a hearing to the argument, or do you feel like, well, they really might feel a little uncomfortable actually if they if they wound up in that church parking lot and they weren't a true believer?
I think. Actually, I have a couple of friends who are going to come who are still undecided, and it's really important to me to stay positive, and it's really important for me for this conversation about this to stay inclusive and to stay accepting of where people are. I'm not in the business of telling people to change their minds. I am in the business of telling people to try to understand what it would be like to be in another person's shoes, and to have what I would actually encourage that person to do is to think about or to talk to the gay people in their lives or people that they know who would be directly affected by this. And imagine what it would be like to have your government or your community telling you that your relationship doesn't matter as much and that it's not worthy of a marriage and it's not worthy of the rights that come with that just because of who it is you're marrying. Just to kind of think about it that way. And that's actually, there's if there aren't any gay people in that person's life, I would say this would be a great place to come because we're going to have people there who are directly affected by this and they can hear the perspective of somebody else.
You will have real live gays at this thing?
Real live, yeah. They exist. They're going to be there.
How would John recognize one of these people? Will they have buttons or something? Because
ask me, I'm gay.
I think that I would just ask. I don't know. I don't really know how to help you there, Doug.
Well, John, I think you're on your own.
Okay.
I think you just have to start asking people.
Excuse me, are you gay?
Hey, Aubrey, just thrilled for the work you're doing. Glad it's happening. And next Wednesday, September 12th, folks should head on out. Bring someone with you, even if it's somebody who's not sure where they stand on this topic.
Yeah, please do.
Bring them along with you because at least they're going to get some good music from Pocahontas County. I mean, if you don't get enough Pocahontas County music in your life.
Who can?
This is the time to finish that. This is the time to finish that. And the Rowe family singers, they're big time, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They are. They're really big, and they're fantastic. Really positive, really great people, and really loving music.
Great.
It's going to be really fun. So.
That's Aubrey Weger, and the event is called Something Bluegrass, and it's a little fundraiser for it's a music for marriage equality event happening on September 12th. Aubrey, thanks a lot. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Doug. Have a great day.
Right on. Hey, folks, stick with us here. We're going to be back with Dr. Anthony Jones. Dr. Jones is going to be bringing the haunting questions of Christianity. The ones that you have said to yourself, that has snuck up on me, that has hung around my brain, that has crept into those little crevices and is just squeaking away in there. Or we'll just chit-chat for a while. Could be either of those. Now, if you're listening live, here's what you need to do. Hold tight. We're going to finish this episode. We're going to relaunch it. And in about 2 minutes, you're going to see a new player, both on the audio and the video side, that'll pop up. So I did put together a little music for Aubrey's Something Bluegrass movement to try to prevent the Constitution of the state of Minnesota from being changed. So we'll take you out with a little with little sounds of Constitution and bluegrass. But it's not that one.
Hey, do you know about the USA? Do you know about the government? Can you tell me about the Constitution?